Welcome back, YouTube. Today we're going to continue with the How to Build Muscle Mass series. Okay. Now, if you haven't checked the other videos, go and do so. We've been through nutrition from basics to finer details. We've been through training, again from basics all the way through finer details. We've been through stuff outside of training in terms of recovery and how best to recover and how important that is for our goal of adding muscle mass. So if you haven't checked those other videos, go and do so. This is going to be the last video in the series, and we're going to actually talk about building muscle mass from a mindset perspective, okay? Because how we view our goal, how we approach it from a mindset perspective is very, very important. And you're going to find a lot of success within your goal from within, again, how you approach it, how you view it, okay? So these are things that we need to consider and things that we need to talk about. If you do find the video helpful, please do drop a like. If you have any questions, throw them down below. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Okay, so a few things in general that I want to speak about when it comes to mindset or how we approach it in terms of, our thought process. One of the main things is we have to be patient, okay? Patience is key when it comes to adding muscle mass. Building muscle mass naturally takes a lot of time, okay? So you have to be patient. If you're expecting to achieve your goals of adding muscle mass within a space of a year, obviously depending on your goal, it's going to be quite subjective in terms of how much muscle mass someone wants to add. But if you're expecting to do it within 6 months, within a year, you're probably going to be very shocked at how long it actually might take, right? And again, like I said, it all depends on how much muscle mass someone's wanting to add, okay? But for example, in my scenario, it's taken me sort of like 7-8 years to actually get to where I want to be, right? So just bear in mind, depending on your goal, but if your goal is making significant changes to your body in terms of adding muscle mass, you have to be patient because it is going to take a long, long time. If you're not ready, or you don't have this thought process or this commitment of time, you are going to struggle. You're going to get frustrated, and it's likely not going to be a successful goal. Secondly, understand that your goal of building muscle mass will likely go through phases. And what I mean by this is, again, going through all the videos that we've just spoken about, we've spoken about putting ourselves into a surplus, even if it's a small one, to help us or put us in an optimal position to build muscle mass, okay? We then know that with that might come accumulation of body fat. We then have to understand that, over time when we accumulate body fat, we might go through a phase where we then reduce body fat, we go through a fat loss phase, which is then long term going to help us go again into another mass gain phase, into another surplus, and repeat the process. You have to understand that these phases of the goal, mass gaining, fat loss, mass gaining, fat loss, might very well likely be needed, okay? And you might see this from a lot of other people that you might potentially follow, get advice from. You'll see them potentially go through different phases, mass gain and fat loss, to try and get the optimal results that they can. So again, you have to prepare yourself for this. You might want to add muscle mass, yes, which is fantastic, but you might have to go through phases, such as fat loss phases, throughout that whole process to get to your end goal. Again, this is when patience is key, okay? Because you might have to go through certain phases that you didn't really expect or didn't really want to go through, but they're going to pay off long term for your goal. Thirdly, consistency, okay? Consistency and commitment, okay? Again, like I said, this almost relates back to point one. It is going to be a long, long journey. It's going to take a lot of time, right? Within that, you have to be very, very consistent, okay? Now, this isn't to say, it has to take over your life. But because adding muscle mass is such a long process, because, it does require you to be committed, on the ball, prioritizing it for a decent amount of time. You have to be consistent week in, week out, over a long, long period of time, okay? And you have to be aware of that, you have to be ready to do that. Unfortunately, adding muscle mass isn't something that you can just half-arse and expect to get good results, or the results that you probably have pictured in your head, okay? If you want to add muscle mass at optimal rates, which when it's slow, most people probably do want optimal rates, you have to be consistent. Again, within a goal like this, where there's so many different boxes that you potentially need to tick, boxes within nutrition, boxes within training, boxes within recovery and stuff outside of training, nutrition within our life, like the previous videos I've just mentioned and gone through, being consistent with those things is hard work, but it's going to be needed. And then lastly, I would just say the willingness to learn, right? When it comes to stuff within the fitness world, there's a lot of different information out there, okay? Some of it great, some of it not so great. There's a lot of different opinions, a lot of different advice. You have to be willing and open-minded to some of that information, okay? To potentially try different things, to experiment, to trial and error, okay? Over years of training, you will get an idea of what works best for you. You know, you might get an idea of, you know, what training split, for example, you enjoy and find fits around your lifestyle and works best for you. And that might take a few years to sort of trial and error and find out. You know, you might take you a while to find out what sort of volume per muscle group works best for you. And that's only going to come if you're willing to trial and error, if you're willing to learn and willing to be open-minded throughout your goal. So hopefully the short videos helped and given you some ideas of things that you need to think about, thought processes you need to have if you want to be successful with your goal of adding muscle mass over time. If you did find the video helpful, please do drop a like. If you've got any questions, throw them down below. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.